November 11th, 1942. The Bureaucracy Gun Factory District, Stalingrad. Soviet Lieutenant Vasily Zaitsev crouches in the rubble of what used to be a machine shop, his standard-issue Mosin Nagant rifle pressed against his shoulder. Through the iron sights, he watches a German officer directing mortar teams 400 meters away. He steadies his breathing, squeezes the trigger. The shot cracks across the frozen wasteland. Miss. The officer ducks behind cover, and within seconds return fire peppers Zaitsev's position. This scene repeats itself dozens of times across Stalingrad's ruins every single day. Soviet snipers are being systematically outmatched by their German counterparts, who possess superior optics and training. The statistics are devastating. For every German sniper killed, the Red Army loses 4 of their own. German officers move freely behind their lines, coordinating attacks that are grinding Soviet positions into dust. The 62nd Army's sniper school is producing shooters at a frantic pace, but they're dying faster than they can be replaced. The problem isn't the shooters. Soviet hunters from Siberia and the Urals possess fieldcraft that rivals anyone in the world. The problem is their equipment. The standard PE and PU scopes mounted on Mosin Nagant rifles are designed for 300-meter engagements. But in Stalingrad's apocalyptic landscape, where every building is a fortress and every street a killing zone, German officers have learned to stay beyond that range. They direct their troops from 400, 500, even 600 meters away, safely beyond the effective reach of Soviet counter-sniper operations. What Soviet command doesn't know is that in a frozen basement workshop beneath the Lazur chemical plant, a 29-year-old accountant from the Ural Mountains is about to solve their problem. He has no formal engineering training, no optics background, no authorization from the Red Army's Weapons Bureau. What he does have is a dead friend, a borrowed German rifle scope, and an idea that every military expert will tell him violates every regulation in the Soviet Manual of Arms. His name is Nikolai Rukavishnikov. And his illegal modification will turn the tide of the sniper war in Stalingrad, making German officers vanish from the battlefield at a rate that will baffle Wehrmacht intelligence for months. The Soviet Union enters World War II with approximately 1,800 trained snipers. By the time the Battle of Stalingrad begins in August 1942, that number has grown to nearly 10,000. But numbers mean nothing when your enemy can kill you before you can even see them clearly. The German Wehrmacht has invested heavily in precision optics since the 1930s. Their Zeiss Zielvier Fort Hoyk scopes offer crystal-clear glass and precise adjustments. More importantly, German sniper doctrine emphasizes long-range elimination of enemy leadership. A German sniper named Heinz Thorwald, operating in Stalingrad's factory district, has reportedly killed over 400 Soviet soldiers, many of them officers and political commissars. His preferred engagement range, 500 to 600 meters, well beyond the effective counter-sniper capability of Soviet forces. Soviet attempts to solve this problem follow predictable paths. The Red Army's main artillery directorate issues orders to increase scope magnification, but the Soviet optical industry is already operating at maximum capacity, evacuated to the Urals, and struggling to produce even basic periscopes for tanks. Requests are sent to Britain and America for Lend-Lease sniper rifles. The Americans send some Springfield 1903A4 rifles, but they arrive in small numbers and their ammunition isn't compatible with Soviet supply chains. Some Soviet snipers try improvised solutions. They attempt to mount captured German scopes directly onto their Mosin Nagants, but the mounting systems are completely incompatible. The German scopes sit too high, throwing off the rifle's balance. Others try stacking multiple Soviet scopes together to increase magnification. These jury-rigged systems fall apart after a few shots from the Mosin Nagant's powerful 7.6225 54mm cartridge. The expert consensus from the main artillery directorate is clear. Soviet industry must develop an entirely new scope from scratch, a process that will take at least 18 months. In the meantime, Soviet snipers should focus on closer range engagements and rely on superior fieldcraft to close the distance. This advice is cold comfort to the men and women dying in Stalingrad's frozen hell. The stakes couldn't be higher. Stalingrad represents the furthest extent of German advance into the Soviet Union. If the city falls, the Wehrmacht will control the Volga River, cutting off oil supplies from the Caucasus and potentially knocking the Soviet Union out of the war entirely. Soviet snipers aren't just killing enemy soldiers, they're disrupting German command and control, forcing officers to stay in bunkers rather than directing attacks, buying time for Soviet reinforcements to arrive. But by November 1942, the sniper war is being lost. German counter-sniper teams, equipped with those superior Zeiss scopes, are hunting down Soviet shooters with methodical efficiency. Vasily Zaitsev himself, already famous from Soviet propaganda, has lost 3 students in 2 weeks. One of them, a 19-year-old girl named Tanya Chernova, was shot through the lung while trying to engage a German officer at 450 meters. She survives barely, but her sniper career is over. The Red Army's sniper school in the Lazur chemical plant continues training new shooters, but morale is crumbling. Students whisper that being selected for sniper training is a death sentence. The instructors, hardened veterans, have no good answers. They can teach fieldcraft, camouflage, and patience, but they cannot change the laws of physics. A 3.5x Soviet PU scope simply cannot compete with a 4x or 6x German Zeiss at extended ranges. Something has to change. Someone has to break the rules. Nikolai Rukavishnikov never wanted to be a soldier. Before the war, he worked as an accountant at the Chelyabinsk tractor plant, managing production quotas and supply inventories. His expertise was in numbers, not weapons. But when the Wehrmacht invaded in June 1941, Rukavishnikov, like millions of other Soviet citizens, found himself in uniform. His background in precision work and his steady hands got him assigned to the sniper school at Stalingrad. Not as a sniper, though, as an armorer. His job was to maintain the Mosin Nagant rifles, ensure the scopes were properly zeroed, and repair damaged weapons. It was technical work that suited his methodical personality. He was good at it. On November 8, 1942, Rukavishnikov's friend and fellow armorer, Sergeant Dmitry Petrov, is killed by a German sniper while retrieving a damaged rifle from a forward position. Petrov's body is recovered that night. In his pack, soldiers find a trophy, a German carabiner 98K rifle with an intact Zeiss Zielvier scope that Petrov had salvaged from a dead Wehrmacht sniper days earlier. The rifle goes to the sniper school's small arms collection, but Rukavishnikov keeps the scope. He studies it obsessively in his basement workshop, a reinforced storage room beneath the chemical plant where he repairs weapons by candlelight. The German optic is a masterpiece of engineering. The glass is clearer than anything Soviet industry produces. The magnification is superior. The adjustments are precise and repeatable. His moment of insight comes on November 10th, while examining a damaged Soviet PU scope. He notices that the mounting rail system, while different from the German design, has similar spacing. The thought hits him like a physical force. What if he doesn't try to mount the entire German scope? What if he just takes the optical elements, the actual glass lenses, and transplants them into a Soviet scope body? It's a radical idea. The two optical systems are designed by different engineering philosophies, using different measurement standards. German optics use different lens coatings, different spacing calculations. Every expert would say it's impossible. The optical alignment would be wrong. The eye relief would be incorrect. The whole system would fail. But Rukavishnikov isn't an expert. He's an accountant who's good with his hands and has nothing to lose. He begins sketching calculations in a notebook, measuring the German lenses with calipers borrowed from the factory's machine shop. The math is crude, based more on trial and error than optical engineering principles. But the basic concept seems sound. If he can create custom spacers to hold the German lenses at the right distances inside a Soviet scope body, he might be able to create a hybrid optic with German glass quality and Soviet mounting compatibility. He doesn't ask permission. He doesn't file a report with the main artillery directorate. He simply begins working, night after night, in his freezing basement workshop, while the battle for Stalingrad rages overhead. Rukavishnikov's workshop is a claustrophobic space lit by a single kerosene lamp. His tools are primitive: a small lathe salvaged from the factory floor, files, calipers, and a jeweler's screwdriver set he's carried since his civilian days. The temperature hovers around freezing. His breath creates fog in the lamplight as he works. The first challenge is disassembling the German scope without destroying the delicate lenses. He works with painful slowness, documenting each step in his notebook. The Zeiss scope comes apart in sections, revealing 4 precision ground glass elements. Each lens is a masterpiece, coated with a proprietary anti-reflective treatment that gives the German optic its superior light transmission. Next, he guts a Soviet PU scope, removing its inferior lenses but keeping the tube and mounting system intact. The Soviet scope body is slightly smaller in diameter than the German one. This is actually advantageous. It means the German lenses can fit inside with room for adjustment spacers. The spacers are the key. Rukavishnikov machines them from spent brass shell casings, creating tiny rings that hold each German lens at precisely the right distance from the next. The calculations are maddening. Too much space and the image blurs. Too little and the magnification is wrong. He works by iteration, testing each configuration by pointing the scope at a distant wall and checking the focus. After 6 nights of work, he has a functioning prototype. The German lenses are nested inside the Soviet scope body, held in place by his custom brass spacers and sealed with pine resin to keep out moisture. The magnification is approximately 5x, better than either the Soviet or German scopes alone. More importantly, the image quality is stunning, crystal clear even in low light. On November 17th, Rukavishnikov shows his creation to his supervisor, Senior Lieutenant Anatoly Baranov, the chief instructor at the sniper school. Baranov examines the scope, looks through it, then sets it down carefully on the table. His face is pale. "Do you understand what you've done?" Baranov asks quietly. "I've created a better scope," Rukavishnikov replies. "You've created an unauthorized modification to military equipment using enemy components. That is explicitly forbidden under Red Army regulations. If the NKVD hears about this, they'll shoot you for sabotage." Rukavishnikov had expected resistance, but not this. "But it works. It's better than anything we have." "It doesn't matter if it works," Baranov says, though his voice lacks conviction. "You've violated the chain of command. You've modified standardized equipment without authorization. You've used German parts, which could be considered collaboration with the enemy. This is illegal, Nikolai, completely illegal." But Baranov doesn't confiscate the scope. Instead, he does something unexpected. He picks it up again, looks through it once more at the distant wall, and says, "How many of these can you make?" Baranov understands that frontline necessity trumps regulations. That night, he brings Rukavishnikov's hybrid scope to Major Vasily Zaitsev, who has become the face of Soviet sniper operations in Stalingrad. Zaitsev, recovering from minor wounds in the school's medical station, examines the scope with the eye of a professional hunter. "Where did this come from?" Zaitsev asks. "Our armorer made it. Rukavishnikov. He combined German lenses with a Soviet body." Zaitsev looks through the scope, adjusting his eye position. His expression changes. The clarity, I can see details I've never seen before. The magnification is better than anything we have. "He did it without authorization," Baranov admits. "It's technically illegal." "I don't care if it's illegal," Zaitsev says flatly. "I care if it kills Germans. Can he make more?" This is where the bureaucratic nightmare begins. To produce the scopes in any quantity, Rukavishnikov needs resources. More German scopes to cannibalize, access to the factory's machine shop, and most importantly, protection from the NKVD political officers who enforce regulations with firing squads. Baranov brings the issue to Colonel Nikolai Batyuk, commander of the 284th Rifle Division's sniper operations. On November 19th, Batyuk convenes a meeting in the chemical plant's administrative building. Present are Baranov, Zaitsev, Rukavishnikov, and 3 members of the main artillery directorate's technical staff who happen to be inspecting Stalingrad's sniper program. The technical experts are appalled. Captain Yevgeny Morozov, a trained optical engineer from the Leningrad optical mechanical plant, examines Rukavishnikov's scope and immediately begins listing problems. "The lens spacing is all wrong," Morozov declares. "The optical path length doesn't match standard calculations. The eye relief is inconsistent. The mounting stress will cause the brass spacers to deform, throwing off alignment. This is amateur work that will fail in field conditions." "I've tested it for a week," Rukavishnikov says quietly. "It holds 0. The image is clear." "You've tested it in a workshop," Morozov snaps. "What happens when it experiences the shock of sustained firing? What happens in extreme cold? What happens when the pine resin sealant cracks? This entire design violates optical engineering principles." The room erupts. Zaitsev stands, his voice cutting through the argument. "I don't care about your principles. I care about killing Germans at 500 meters. Can your principles do that? Given proper time and resources, we can develop a superior scope using correct engineering methods," Morozov counters. This hack job is a waste of resources." "How long?" Zaitsev demands. "How long until your superior scope is ready?" Morozov hesitates. 12 to 18 months. We need to design new lenses, develop new coatings, establish production lines. "We don't have 18 months, Baranov interrupts. "We might not have 18 days. German snipers are killing our people right now, today, because they have better optics. Rukavishnikov's design exists right now. It works right now." The argument continues for an hour. The technical experts insist that proper procedure must be followed. Baranov and Zaitsev argue for immediate field testing. Rukavishnikov sits silently, watching his illegal creation become a political football. Finally, Colonel Batyuk speaks. He's been quiet throughout the meeting, listening to both sides. "Captain Morozov, how many improved scopes can you deliver to Stalingrad in the next month?" "None, sir. As I explained, development takes..." "Then your opinion is noted and dismissed," Batyuk says coldly. "Rukavishnikov, you have authorization to produce 20 of these hybrid scopes. You will use captured German optics and whatever resources you need from the factory. Baranov, assign him 2 assistants. Zaitsev, you will personally test the first 5 scopes and report results. If they fail in field conditions, we stop production. If they work, we expand the program." Morozov's face turns red. "Colonel, I must protest. This violates..." "Your protest is noted. This meeting is over." If you're fascinated by these untold stories of battlefield innovation, hit that subscribe button. We're uncovering the real history that textbooks ignore, and you won't want to miss what's coming next. Production begins immediately. Rukavishnikov recruits 2 assistants, Corporal Ivan Sidorov, a former watchmaker, and Private Mikhail Volkov, a teenager with steady hands and good eyesight for quality control. They work in shifts, 16 hours a day in the basement workshop. The bottleneck is acquiring German scopes. Soviet soldiers are offered extra rations for every intact German optical sight they recover from the battlefield. By November 25th, Rukavishnikov has completed 5 hybrid scopes. Each one is slightly different, as he refines his technique with each build. The brass spacers become more precise. The sealing method improves. He discovers that mixing the pine resin with a small amount of gun oil creates a more flexible seal that handles temperature changes better. Zaitsev receives the first scope on November 26th. He mounts it on his personal Mosin Nagant and spends the next 2 days testing it from various positions in the Barakati factory district. His after-action report is enthusiastic. The hybrid scope provides clear target identification at ranges up to 600 meters. The improved magnification allows precise shot placement on targets previously considered beyond effective range. The scope has maintained 0 through 150 rounds of firing. I request immediate production of additional units. The real test comes on November 29th. Zaitsev, equipped with his hybrid scope, takes position in a bombed-out water tower overlooking the German-held Mamayev-Kurgan district. His spotter, Nikolai Kulikov, watches through binoculars. At 0820 hours, a German officer emerges from a bunker 520 meters away, directing a group of soldiers preparing for a morning assault. Zaitsev settles behind his rifle. Through the hybrid scope, he can see details that would be impossible with standard Soviet optics. The officer's rank insignia, the map case in his hand, even the steam from his breath in the cold morning air. Zaitsev adjusts for wind and distance. The shot cracks across the frozen landscape. The German officer collapses. The soldiers around him scatter, confused. They never saw the muzzle flash. They have no idea where the shot came from. Over the next 3 days, Zaitsev eliminates 6 more German officers at ranges between 450 and 580 meters. German command notices. Their morning briefings suddenly become tense affairs, held in reinforced bunkers rather than field positions. Officers who previously moved freely behind the lines now travel with increased security. By December 5th, Rukavishnikov has produced 15 hybrid scopes. They're distributed to the sniper school's most experienced shooters. The results are immediate and dramatic. Soviet sniper effectiveness at extended ranges increases by approximately 60%. More importantly, German officer casualties spike. Senior Sergeant Anatoly Chekhov, a Siberian hunter with 89 confirmed kills, receives a hybrid scope on December 7th. Over the next week, he eliminates 9 German officers and NCOs, all at ranges exceeding 450 meters. His longest shot, on December 12th, kills a German artillery observer at 612 meters, a distance previously considered impossible for Soviet snipers. The German perspective reveals the psychological impact. Hauptmann Klaus Becker, a Wehrmacht company commander, writes in his diary on December 10th, "Our officers are being killed at impossible ranges. The Russian snipers have somehow improved their capabilities." Yesterday, Oberleutnant Hoffmann was shot through the head at what we estimated to be 500 meters. We never heard the shot, never saw the shooter. It's as if the Russians have developed invisible ghosts who can kill from beyond the horizon. Wehrmacht intelligence reports from mid-December note the phenomenon but can't explain it. German counter-sniper teams, equipped with their superior Zeiss scopes, find themselves matched by Soviet shooters who can now engage at equal ranges. The advantage that German snipers enjoyed for months has suddenly evaporated. The most dramatic success comes on December 18, 1942. A coordinated operation involving 4 Soviet snipers equipped with hybrid scopes targets a German battalion command post in the Red October Factory district. Over a 6-hour period, they systematically eliminate the battalion commander, his executive officer, 3 company commanders, and 2 artillery observers. The German unit, suddenly decapitated of leadership, becomes disorganized and ineffective. A Soviet counterattack that afternoon overruns their positions with minimal casualties. By December 31st, Rukavishnikov has produced 32 hybrid scopes. The snipers using them have collectively eliminated over 200 German soldiers, including 40 confirmed officers and NCOs. The kill ratio has reversed. Soviet snipers equipped with hybrid scopes are now killing German snipers at a rate of 3 to 1. The lives saved are harder to quantify, but no less real. When German officers can't safely direct mortar fire, Soviet infantry suffers fewer casualties. When German artillery observers are eliminated, bombardments become less accurate. When German snipers are counter-sniped at long range, they become cautious, less effective. The hybrid scope's impact ripples through the entire tactical situation in Stalingrad. Senior Lieutenant Baranov compiles statistics in late December. Soviet sniper units equipped with hybrid scopes are achieving a 73% first-shot hit rate at ranges between 400 and 600 meters, compared to 31% with standard PU scopes. The average engagement range has increased from 320 meters to 480 meters. Most tellingly, sniper casualties have dropped by 42%. Soviet shooters can now engage and eliminate threats before those threats can effectively return fire. The German Sixth Army's intelligence summary from January 2, 1943, includes a desperate note. Russian sniper capabilities have increased dramatically. Recommend all command personnel maintain maximum concealment. Forward observation posts should be relocated daily. Officer casualties from sniper fire have reached unacceptable levels. This story gets even more incredible. Click that like button and drop a comment telling us what piece of battlefield innovation you want us to cover next. Your suggestions literally shape our content. The Battle of Stalingrad ends on February 2, 1943, with the surrender of the German Sixth Army. By that time, Rukavishnikov has produced 67 hybrid scopes. The design never receives official recognition from the main artillery directorate. In fact, the technical experts in Moscow never acknowledge that the hybrid scopes exist. Official records list the sniper's success as being achieved with standard PU scopes and superior Soviet training. But the snipers know the truth. After the battle, Vasily Zaitsev writes in his memoir, "There was a quiet accountant who gave us eyes that could see death before it saw us. He asked for no recognition, no medals, only that we use his gift to send Germans home in boxes. We did." Rukavishnikov returns to his armorer duties after Stalingrad, following the Red Army west through Ukraine, Poland, and eventually into Germany itself. He continues producing hybrid scopes whenever captured German optics become available, though never in large quantities. By war's end, he's created approximately 200 of the hybrid scopes, each one hand-built in whatever workshop space he can find. He never receives a medal for his innovation. His name never appears in Soviet weapons development records. When historians later study the Battle of Stalingrad sniper war, they credit Soviet success to training, determination, and individual heroism. The hybrid scope becomes a footnote, mentioned only in veterans' memoirs and personal letters. After the war, Rukavishnikov returns to Chelyabinsk and his old job at the tractor plant. He refuses interviews. When a Soviet journalist tracks him down in 1965 to ask about his wartime service, Rukavishnikov's response is characteristically modest. I fixed rifles. Many people fixed rifles. Why are you bothering me? But in 1973, at a veterans reunion in Moscow, something remarkable happens. 12 former snipers, now old men, seek out Rukavishnikov. One of them, Anatoly Chekhov, now a grandfather and retired forest ranger, embraces the former armorer with tears in his eyes. Because of you, Chekhov says, we came home. Because of you, we could kill them before they killed us. You gave us a chance. The hybrid scope design itself disappears into history. Modern Russian military historians occasionally mention it as a curiosity, an improvised solution to a temporary problem. But the principle behind Rukavishnikov's work, that sometimes the best solution comes from someone willing to ignore the experts and try something illegal, echoes through military innovation to this day. The lesson isn't about optics or scopes or even snipers. It's about the difference between following procedures and solving problems. Rukavishnikov could have waited for the main artillery directorate to develop a proper solution. He could have followed regulations and let German officers continue killing Soviet soldiers with impunity. Instead, he broke the rules, risked court-martial, and saved lives. Nikolai Rukavishnikov died in 1989 at age 76, having never sought recognition for his wartime innovation. His obituary in the local Chelyabinsk newspaper mentioned only that he was a veteran of the Great Patriotic War and a dedicated worker at the tractor plant. It said nothing about the 40 German officers who vanished in Stalingrad, or the hundreds of Soviet soldiers who came home because an accountant refused to accept that illegal meant impossible.